There is a man sitting somewhere right now with $11 in his account and the bearing of a king. And there is another man, 3 streets over, with the same $11, who flinches when the card reader beeps, who apologizes to the waiter, who says the words, "I can't afford it," the way some men say a prayer. Same money, two completely different lives coming toward them. The difference between those two men is not luck, and it is not the balance in the account. It is posture, and posture is the one thing you can change tonight, for nothing, before a single number moves. Now let me tell you what acting like a millionaire is not. It is not the rented car in the photo. It is not the watch bought on a credit card you can't pay, the lifestyle performed for strangers who will never check. That man is usually more broke than you are, and twice as afraid, because he has to keep the costume running. Real acting as if happens on the inside, where it costs nothing and changes everything. Here is the part the wealthy understand, and almost no one else does. They did not get the posture from the money, they got the money from the posture. The inner state came first, and the outer life arranged itself to match. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to give you 10 shifts. 10 ways to start being the man before the bank agrees with you. None of them cost $1. Shift 1. The state comes before the money. In Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill tells the story of a young man named Edwin Barnes, who came to the laboratory of Thomas Edison with no money, no connections, and one burning desire. He had not come looking for a job. He had come, as Hill tells it, to go into business with the great inventor as his partner. In Hill's telling, the man standing there looked like an ordinary tramp, but there was something in his face that said he had already decided to get what he came for. Edison gave him a small job sweeping floors, and for months, for years, that floor sweeper went on carrying himself, speaking, and waiting not as a clerk, but as Edison's future associate, because in his own mind he already was. Then a machine came along that the regular salesman had given up on, and Barnes said, "I can sell that," because the partner he had been pretending to be was exactly the man who would. He became the distributor of that machine and grew wealthy. Barnes was a real man, and he really did run the sale of Edison's dictating machine for the better part of 30 years. Hill put this story at the very front of his book for one reason. Barnes did not become Edison's associate and then feel like one. As Hill tells it, he assumed the position first, with no right to it, and the right caught up. This is the law under everything I'm about to tell you. Goddard said it in one sentence. An assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. You keep waiting to feel rich after the money arrives. The teachers spent their whole lives saying it backwards. The feeling comes first, and the money comes to match the feeling. So you do not act like a millionaire because you are one. You become one because you decided to be him first. Tonight, before a single figure in your account changes, decide who you are being. Not someday. Tonight. And the very first place that decision shows is in your own 2 hands every time you touch money. Shift 2. Stop touching money like it's running away. The broke posture is a grip, the flinch as the total climbs, the held breath, the little apology. Desperation has a smell, and money seems to catch it from across the room. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that what you resist persists, and what you fear you summon. She called it the law of non-resistance. And Goddard said the man who feels poor is quietly signing an order for more of exactly that, because the feeling is the instruction the subconscious fills. The millionaire's tell was never the watch. It is the ease. He pays without bracing. He reads a price without his stomach dropping. Not because the number is nothing to him, but because panic was never going to help him, so he set it down years ago. Hear the difference carefully, because the counterfeit gets this exactly wrong. You are not pretending to have more money than you have. You are refusing to rehearse lack. The faker spends money he doesn't own to look calm. You keep every dollar you have and simply drop the fear, which costs nothing, and is the actual thing the wealthy man carries that you don't. So, here is tonight's work. The next time you pay for anything, pay it the way a rich man pays. No flinch, no apology, no held breath. The same amount leaves your account either way. Practice the ease on small things until the ease belongs to you. Shinn would have you go further than easing the grip. She had her students speak a word over their money, a decree, something close to this. I give and I receive freely, and my supply comes from a source that never runs dry. You say it not because the statement in your hand agrees, but precisely because it doesn't, until the saying finally outlasts the doubting. The calm is never pretending the money is already there. It is refusing, out loud and on purpose, to keep living as though it never will be. And understand that this calm is not a trick of the face. It grows from a root, and the root is a decided mind. Shift 3. Decide like a man with options. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years studying the wealthiest men of his age, and one difference surfaced again and again. The men who made it reached decisions quickly and changed them slowly, if they ever changed them at all. The men who failed reached decisions slowly and reversed themselves daily. The broke posture is the second man, polling everyone, reopening every settled question at midnight, waiting for a certainty that is never coming. Hill had a name for the lifelong version of this, and he considered it the real thief of human lives, worse than any single failure. He called it drifting. A man can drift for 30 years, decide nothing, be carried by whatever current is strongest that week, and arrive nowhere on time. Bob Proctor taught the cure for 50 years. The goal that scares you a little is the right goal. You decide on it, fully, before you can see how, and the deciding itself begins to organize you and pull the means toward you. We work on the goal, he used to say, and the goal works on us. Proctor also warned of what happens the moment you decide on something bigger than your current self. You hit what he called the terror barrier, a wall of fear that tempts you to bolt back to the familiar and call the retreat common sense. The broke man retreats there every single time. The rich self feels the very same fear and keeps walking through it because he has already decided, and a decided man does not sit down and renegotiate with fear at midnight. So understand this. A decided man and an undecided man can have the very same balance this morning and entirely different lives by winter. The money follows the decision. It does not lead it. Take one thing you have been turning over for weeks and decide it today, out loud, with finality, then refuse to reopen it. Feel what that does to your spine. Because once a man has truly decided, you can hear it in the way he speaks. Shift 4. Speak like the man who already has it. Shin called the spoken word your wand, the word made flesh, and she watched ordinary people talk themselves out of fortunes every single day, narrating their own poverty aloud. I'm broke. I never have enough. Money just runs through my fingers. I'll never get ahead, said often enough, with feeling. That is not venting. That is autosuggestion. And the subconscious does not know you were only complaining. It hears an instruction, and it goes to work building the proof. The wealthy man's speech is clean. He does not broadcast his lack to every ear that will listen. Even when the account is thin, he speaks from the man he is becoming, not the man the balance says he is. Goddard called your day one long inner conversation, a sentence you repeat to yourself under the noise. Hill called the deliberate version autosuggestion, the planting of a chosen thought by repetition, morning and night, until it sinks below the arguing mind and takes root. So catch the poverty sentences and cut them. Replace them with one clean line, the new man would say, and speak it morning and night, with feeling, the way the old teachers had their students do. And I made this so simple you cannot get it wrong. There is a free daily autosuggestion sheet on our site, the exact morning installation those teachers would have walked you through, your definite aim, your 3 affirmations written in the voice of the man who already has it, and an evening check, all on one page. It comes with 3 short emails that show you how to use it so it actually takes hold. It's the first link in the description. Claim it and start tonight, because a sentence still needs a face to belong to. It needs a self-image. Shift 5. Wear the self-image. There was a poor boy from Bristol named Archibald Leach who came up rough, with little money and less polish. He decided to become an entirely different man, and he built him on purpose, the elegant, unshakable, charming man the whole world would later know as Cary Grant. Years later, he reflected on how he had done it. He pretended to be somebody he wanted to be, he said, until finally he became that person. Or, in his words, that person became him. He wore the part so completely, for so long, that it stopped being a part. Bob Proctor would draw a stick person on a board to explain why this works. The results in your life, he said, are not pushed by what you want. They are pulled by the image you hold of yourself. You do not get what you want, you get what you are. A man whose self-image says money happens to other people can win a fortune and lose it inside a year, because the image always wins in the end and drags the outer life back to match. This is what the old teachers meant by the paradigm. It is the picture of yourself you inherited, handed to you by other people's words and opinions, long before you were old enough to refuse them, and it runs very nearly everything you do without once asking your permission. But here is the freedom hidden in it. Anything that was installed can be replaced, through the very same door it came in, by a new picture held long enough and felt deeply enough to take the old one's place. So the image is the thermostat, and the bank account is only the temperature in the room. Change the picture of yourself, and the room is forced to follow it home. Build the picture of the self who already has it. How he wakes, how he works, how he answers a setback without falling apart, and let that picture, not your fear, make the small choices you make today. Because that self carries something specific in his mind, not a vague wish for more, a definite number. Shift 6. Name the number and carry it. There was a broke, unknown comedian who used to drive a beaten-up car up into the hills above Los Angeles at night, park, and look down at the lights of the city while he imagined the directors who already wanted to work with him. One night he took out his checkbook and wrote himself a check for $10 million. He post-dated it a few years out, for Thanksgiving of 1995, wrote for acting services rendered in the memo line, and tucked it in his wallet, where it sat until it fell apart from age. By the time that Thanksgiving came around, Jim Carrey's career had broken wide open, and he was commanding many millions of dollars a film. He has told the story himself many times. The check was never the magic. The point is that he made the end definite and carried it somewhere he would feel it every day. Hill called this your definite chief aim, and he was ruthless about it. A wish is fog. A definite aim, fixed and dated, is a magnet. Goddard called it living in the end, and he warned that you cannot feel more. You can only feel a specific scene that is already true. The broke man wants more. The rich self knows the figure, knows the date, and can close his eyes and stand inside the scene where it's already done. And if this is the kind of thing you want more of, the 4 teachers made usable in plain language, take 1 second and subscribe, because teaching exactly this, week after week, is the entire reason this channel exists. So write your figure down, put a real date beside it, carry it somewhere you will feel it, and at night, in that drowsy state just before sleep, when the doubting mind finally goes quiet, live one short scene that is only true after that number is already real. Goddard taught that this is the most fertile moment of the whole day, the door of the subconscious standing wide open, and that whatever scene you carry through it, felt as real, is taken as an instruction and begins its quiet work while you sleep. But notice, the rich self does not grip that number with white knuckles. He moves like a man who has time. Shift 7. Move like you already have time. The broke posture is frantic, the lottery ticket urgency, the get-rich-by-Friday panic, the endless refreshing of the screen, waiting for the one miracle that fixes everything at once. And there is a quieter version of the same panic that wears the mask of peace. The man who surrenders it all to the universe, whispers his affirmations to the ceiling, and then sits back and waits for a check to fall out of the sky, while he guards no thought, speaks no word, and lifts no hand. He has kept the faith and quietly dropped the works, but the universe has never once done a man's part for him. It moves through the man, through his word and his hands, never instead of him. The whole law has 2 halves, and he is trying to fly on one wing. Proctor used to tell audiences about the airplane. A plane bound from Los Angeles to Hawaii is off course for most of the flight. The winds push it, the currents pull it, and the pilot corrects, and corrects again, and arrives. It never turns around and flies back to Los Angeles to start over. The rich man is at peace with the time precisely because, on the inside, he is already standing at the destination, simply correcting his way toward what is already his. Shin taught the missing half. She called it the act of faith. You confirm the word with an action that only makes sense if the thing is already done. The woman who prepared the room before the means appeared. Faith with feet under it. So today, take one small action that would only make sense if the new man were already real, within your means, but real. An act of faith, then let it rest. And one of those actions the rich self takes without ever being asked. He gives. Shift 8. Give like the tap is already open. The broke posture hoards. It clenches every coin, tips like the money is being pulled out of its hands, gives nothing because there is never enough. And that very clench is the loudest signal of lack a man can send, which is exactly why the lack keeps coming. Shin taught the law of circulation. Money is meant to move, and the wealthy keep it moving, because a thing that flows out makes room for a thing to flow in. Hill taught the habit of going the extra mile, of giving more in value than you are paid for, which quietly sets in motion the law of increasing returns. Watch what generosity actually is, underneath. When a man gives freely, he is making a statement to his own subconscious that no affirmation can match. He is saying, I am not at the bottom. The supply is open. There is more where this came from. You cannot talk your own mind into believing you are abundant while your hands behave like a man down to his last coin. The behavior is the proof your mind actually believes. Hill watched the wealthiest men of his age give their best work away before they were ever paid for it, render more and better service than any wage demanded, and he watched the law hand it back to them multiplied. Shin put the same truth in a single image. Money, she taught, is like the tide. It has to be allowed to go out so that it can come back in greater. The man who dams the stream to keep every last drop ends up standing over a stagnant pond. The man who lets it run ends up living beside a river. So today, give something away without a flinch. A generous tip, a little money, an hour of your time, real, specific praise to someone who earned it. Not what you cannot afford, never that, but something, freely, as living proof to your own mind that the tap is open. And all of this, the calm hands, the clean word, the open tap, it shows up in the body long before it shows up in the bank. Shift 9. Carry the body of the man. Years before he owned a single grand hotel, a struggling young man kept a picture of the Waldorf-Astoria, the most magnificent hotel in the world at the time, under the glass on his desk, where he would see it every day. Across it he had written 4 words, the greatest of them all. His name was Conrad Hilton, and years later, in 1949, he took control of that very hotel. He carried the image of the man he was becoming until his decisions, his bearing, and finally the world itself caught up with the picture. Proctor taught the same thing as a daily practice. Act as if, with the body, not only the mind. The body teaches the subconscious faster than any sentence, because it cannot lie convincingly for long. The way you stand, the way you walk, the clothes you wear from the closet you already own, pressed and deliberate, the pace you move at, the unhurried way you answer a question. Every one of those is a vote cast for who you are. The broke posture is a hunch and a hurry. The rich posture is upright and unhurried, and you can put it on tomorrow morning with nothing you don't already have. So tomorrow, carry your body as the man who already has it. Shoulders back, movements slow and deliberate. Answer a beat later than you want to. Let the body lead and the mind will follow it. And if you keep all of this on long enough, something happens that changes the entire game. The proof arrives, and belief locks shut behind it. Shift 10. Keep acting as if until the world agrees. Here is the honest part nobody tells you. The first morning you stand up straight and speak like the man who already has it. A louder voice inside you calls you a liar. The mirror argues. Nothing in the account moves. And most men quit right there, at the exact moment before it would have worked, and walk away calling the whole law a lie. Goddard gave us the one word the law turns on. An assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Persisted. Hill found the same trait in every single person who ever made it. The one quality that cannot be substituted by any other. Persistence. You hold the assumption past the point where it argues back. And then the crossing comes. You keep acting as if, past the doubt, and one day a small and completely unexpected sum arrives from a direction you were never watching. $100. A refund. A bit of work. A thing sold. And something happens in that moment that no affirmation alone could ever do for you. Now the identity has evidence. Now you no longer believe the law. You know it. Proof creates belief, in that order, and never the other way around. That crossing, from saying it to knowing it, is the entire reason I built the 1-4-day money magnet. 14 days, one short email, and one small task each day, aimed at exactly one thing, your first $100, attracted on purpose, so your own mind finally has the proof it has been waiting for. It's small enough to come fast, and concrete enough that you cannot argue it away. It is a paid program, and that's deliberate, because only people serious enough to put a little on the line ever actually do the work and see the result. But if you do the 14 days and the $100 does not come, you email me and I give back every penny. The risk is entirely mine. It's the second link in the description. So come back to the 2 men we started with. Same $11. Two postures. Two different lives arriving. The millionaire you are going to become is not waiting for you on the far side of the money. He is the man you decide to be tonight, before any of it agrees with you. The calm hands, the clean word, the decided spine, the open tap, the body that has already arrived. Act like that man before the proof comes, and the proof, the way it always has for the ones who held the assumption long enough to let it harden into fact, will come to meet you. Start tonight.